My name is Josh Minsky, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about my journey through creating apps and what I've learned so far. But to start my journey, I kind of want to just talk, or to start this video, I just want to talk about my goals. So my main goal was to learn Python, um, as I already kind of knew a little bit of Python, but I want to explore a lot more of the complexities of coding using it. So my goal was to create an app using Python, as I thought creating an app was the most applicable way to learn a coding language. So yes, so that's what my goal was. My goal was to create an app. And starting from that goal, I started with Defenders of the Earth. So Defenders of the Earth is about a 740 long line project that uses Python, Pygame, and a little bit of Kivy. And Pygame and Python are just libraries in Python that you can use to create apps. So I started with this as I just kind of came up with the idea, or I kind of already had the idea, and I just decided I wanted to pursue it. So this took me probably about a little over a month to create. Actually probably closer to a month and a half. And while you might not think, it's only 740 lines of code, which, is a lot, but not for a month and a half. Why did it take me so long? And the reason is was logical, like yeah, logical like questions of how do I do this. So, for instance, if I show you my app, um, so there obviously is some bugs in it. You can see the text for the click here to start button was a little small. But there's some bugs, mainly just due to this being my first app. But so as you can see, I entered the number of questions I want, and it gives me a question. And before I go on, I just want to explain my app. This app is basically a um, basically like a mix between the Space Invaders arcade game and um, Gravity from Quizlet. So yeah, so I'll show you what I mean. But so you enter the number of questions you want, and then you just answer the question. And just for sake of the video, I'm just going to enter these as my questions. And yes, and then we'll go answer 1, answer 2, answer 3, answer 4, and answer 5. So boom, now it's gonna start up the game. Oops, now it's gonna start up my game. So then you click here to play. As you can see, the text is a little small, just a little bug. Um, and yes, so this is the game. This is basically what it looks like. You would usually get a question, and then it has A, B, C, D associated with different answers. And this is mainly the reason why a lot of this took a lot of this took so while. Is it's hard. Like it was very hard to figure out how do I create a question, or how do I input the question up here, and then input A, B, C, D, and but then associate all these letters with an answer. Make these answers go in random order, and then but also then associate me hitting the answer, which for this question would be A1, which is D. So if I hit D, so first of all, this shoots rockets, so this is what I use to hit. So if I can hit it, I missed. If I can hit it, wait for it to come around. But yeah, basically this took a lot of understanding. So if I can hit it right here, boom. So then it goes up to question 2. And as you can see, there's some bugs with the spaceships that would have been phased out, but I decided that while I learned a lot from this, I learned especially about classes, for loops, if loops, object-oriented programming, functions, how do you embed lists, and nest them, and to just all these things, 2D lists. It was just I learned basically all the basics, and became very proficient in all the basics. And while I was very proud of what I did, I learned from this. I realized that this was not this right here is not a good basis for an app, as there's just a lot of problems with with the idea of this app, which is, like creating a mobile app with, entering all the questions and answers is just it's not very it's just it wouldn't work that well. So I realized that this was not going to work that well, and so I decided to move on from this. So yeah, so I moved on from this app to my next app. And that's part of the reason why there's still some bugs is I there's some little things left, but I decided that for the sake of time, since I was running on a little bit of limited time, as I did this all over my summer, that I wanted to move on to my next app, which is called Physics Backpack. So again, I use Python as I was wanting to continue pursuing creating an app using Python. So I already understood a lot about Python, so this went a little bit quicker, but not as quick actually, but not as quick as I would think it would. I thought it would go, as I had to learn Kivi and KiviMD, which basically means I had to learn basically a whole new language. And yeah, so this that which took a lot to learn, as it's a lot different, but it wasn't as bad. This took me about a little over a month to create, and it's about 6,374 lines long. So it's a lot longer than my first app. But the reason it took a little bit less time, or probably about the same time, um, actually no, a little bit less time, was mainly just because, um, um, I was only using, or I was repeating a lot of like the screens. I'll show you what I mean. I'll play this. But yeah, I was repeating a lot of the stuff, for different screens, and so it wasn't as big of a logic problem as it was of just trying to figure out a new language and how to incorporate everything, and like the problem, like syntax problems and all that other stuff, all that other jazz, the hard parts about learning a new language. But yeah, so this is what I created. It has my icon. It has all of this. So these are all just different screens. If I go to one, you can see that this is a calculator, so you can calculate different things. You enter in values like this, and then calculate, and then you can go back. You can click on different ones. Then there's different topics that it covers. It covers stuff, and then you can go to here. It has um, you know, images that I found helpful, and then it also has a table. Uh, so this is, a table. Um, yeah, so this is basically my app. And while it works, and it works, that I can use this, for app creation. You know what I mean? So, this would work as a phone app. You can slide across. You can see everything you need to see. You can go back. This all works as an app. But the reason that this isn't my app that I created, and I actually did publish an app to the App Store. It's called Physics Backpack. Same, or it's a pretty similar app. There's some differences, slight differences, but it's pretty similar. But the reason this isn't what it looks like if you click on it and open it is because um, KiviMD actually KiviMD does not work with iOS, and yeah, so this is kind of why I wanted to make this video is while creating apps, I worked under the assumption that app creation with Python is very much possible. And while you can create apps with Python, it's possible to create apps. Especially you would want to use Kivi, right? You can create an app with Python and Kivi. It will work. You can publish to the App Store. But the problem I found is that if you want to create anything besides a very basic app, it's not going to work that well, as you need KiviMD. Because KiviMD is the way that you can create data tables. You can create these types of lists, a screen manager where you can switch from screens like this to here and then actually use something with your screen. You know what I mean? Like this is all because of KiviMD. This would not work without KiviMD. So yeah, but KiviMD is kind of new, and does just not very compatible with a lot of things. There's a lot of things using Apple, especially. Um, yeah, and so and I tried everything. Like I spent probably at least a week of my time, um, of this, contacting different people. I went on the Kiwi forums. I went to GitHub for Kiwi. I contacted the creator or for KiwiMD. Sorry, their Discord, helpline. Spent days on that, asking different people. I jumped, I even emailed like basically like the head mod and creator of it, and he referred me to a solution that didn't work. And I even said it didn't work, and he kind of never responded to me. So for someone who has tried almost everything, I recommend that if you want to use Python, and I will continue to use Python because I like Python. It's very fun to use, and for personal use, it's great. It's great you can learn a lot from it. But for practical app development, I realized that I had to switch. So I switched to Swift, which, if you don't know, Swift is just basically Apple's programming language. It's what I recommend using if you want to create an app using Python, or if you want to create an app to upload to the iOS store, just use Swift. Um, Learn Swift. There's a lot of videos about Swift that will basically teach you everything. You can watch literally someone. I've watched videos or series of videos about someone literally recreating Spotify using just Swift, or recreating Instagram, or recreating Facebook, or recreating WhatsApp. You can watch all these things, and that's part of the reason that I was able to use it. Is I used some of the ideas that he used in his videos in here. And there is yeah but so yeah and there I know there is ways, like I know that bigger app companies, they create their apps maybe in C++ plus plus or whatever, but I don't really there's not a clear way. I haven't found a clear way, or someone showing how to really publish an app using any of those. So I just found the easiest way is just to use the you know the language that Apple provides. So just use Swift if you want to create apps. So that's what I did. I learned Swift, um, which is difficult. I learned Swift and I created basically a similar app. So yeah, and this is probably close to 7,800, 7,000, 8,000, maybe even close to 10,000 lines of code. I have models, I have view controllers, or view controllers. They're split up into others. These are all different things. They're about 200 lines long, close to, right. They cover all of this. There's all of these are about 200 lines long, plus my core view controllers. These cover all the things. I switch everything. Yeah, this was a very big project, and it took me probably about 2-3 weeks to create, which considering that's close to probably 10,000 lines of code is a very very short amount of time. But I spent basically from probably like 10 in the morning to 12:30 at night, or close to most days. But yeah, probably close to every single day for a couple weeks just creating this, because on a little bit of time crunch, and I was just wanted to get something done. I wanted to show something. The problem with my two Python projects is I couldn't really show anybody else. My family knew about it, but that was it. And even then, it's like I had to go to my computer and then pull it up and show them, and it was like it was cool. But I wanted to be able to just whip out an app on my phone and show somebody what I was able to create. So that was my goal, and so I'll show you on a simulator of my app. And so this is my app. It creates. You can see the launch screen that has my icon, um, and yeah, this is basically what you would see if you downloaded my app on the App Store. You can see. Let's see if I just go to here. This is not my newest version. There is some more niceties to my newest version, but yeah, this is still a little buggy from what I created. Yeah, so this is my almost final product. The final one is on the App Store, but this is very close to what it would look like. But yeah, so this took there was a lot of logic problems in this. Like, I found that, you know, the only way to, um, create basically a screen controller was to do it like this. You can't, like, there's this heading. I was trying to, make it so you could put like a heading of Newtonian mechanics and then put all these under it. But I found that I couldn't find a way to do it, to solve it, so I had to come up with, new solutions. I had to put this like this, and then you had to click here to get to to the actual calculator screen, which basically just, showed me how to be resourceful, how do I want, which is really what you need if you want to, you know, if you want to create apps, you basically have to be willing to change your view of what you think your app should look like to the realities of what it's gonna look. I had no idea this was what my app would look like at the end. If you told me, basically about 4 months ago, probably 4 months ago, or when I created this app, it was 4 months from when I started. If you had told me 4 months from then, that I would have, this is what my app would look like, I would have just been shocked because this is not what I expected it to look like, especially after creating my one on KVMG, you know. So it's like, yeah, if you want to create an app, you have to know that you're gonna have to shift what you, especially if you're not a pro, because if you're a pro, you can basically do all the things. There's you can do most of the things you want because you know all the little ins and outs. But as a beginner, um, you have to shift to what you can practically do. So yeah, so this is my app. Um, these are just kind of replicas of it. But yeah, this is it. Simulator. This is my final product. And so again, to repeat, um, just if you want to know, app developing is a very complex process. There's a lot of um, complexities and problems with it, and there's not a ton of clear information out there. So I just wanted to put this out here, to kind of talk about some of the problems I had, and just let people know that if you want to start, like, these are just the things that I wish I knew when starting. Um, and while I'm definitely not close to finishing, and still have you know endless amounts of information to learn about apps and Python and coding, and maybe if, actually just creating an app just using Python and not Swift. Um, this is what I wanted to share, just so that if you're starting, at the very beginning, or even if you're kind of halfway through and you're not sure, how you're gonna finish it, or whatever, that like that you have this information, because this is really what I wanted to know. And yeah, so this is my video. This is my journey creating apps, and I hope you enjoyed and found this informational or informative, I guess. But yeah, thank you.